Welcome back. You are watching the press preview, a first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with columnist Yasmin Alabai-Brown and broadcaster Lucy Beresford. Now, most of the papers are focusing on, guess what? England's win over Spain. The Eye is leading on the Lionesses Euro victory. Queens of Europe is their headline. The Guardian also calls the England players Queens of Europe with a full-page tribute to the team celebrating. The Sun is also focusing on the win, the hand of God, referring to goalie Hannah Hampton's brilliant saves. It's home again is the headline in The Star. An image of England forward Chloe Kelly dominates the front of the Telegraph after she scored the final penalty for the win. The Express says the Lionesses roared to victory, while the Mirror calls the squad the Lionesses as the paper honours their win. The Mail has an image of two of the players lying down with the trophy, but the paper's main story says Labour is facing mounting pressure to shut the asylum hotel at the centre of angry protests. The Times also shows the England team celebrating, but it leads with claims that Sir Keir Starmer will seek to use a meeting with President Trump on Monday to increase diplomatic pressure on Israel over humanitarian aid to Gaza. Those are the papers that we have so far. To take us through them, Yasmin Alabai-Brown and Lucy Beresford. Welcome to both of you. We're all smiling, aren't we?
We're all
because we're so happy. Yeah. It's just great to have a good news sporting story. The Lionesses have made us proud. Front page of The Sun. The hand of God.
The hand of God. I am really chuffed, actually, that they've got the photo of the actual goalkeeper, because in a way they can often be forgotten in all of this. If someone scores a goal, that's great. If someone's a captain, that's superb. But actually, because it did go down to penalty shootout, suddenly the focus is all on you. And she was made woman of the match as well, which was fantastic. And she was, when she was picked, she was replacing someone previously who was incredibly popular, Mary Earps. And there was a lot of criticism. We've heard a lot in this tournament about the negativity that this team has come under. Racism, but also just you're not good enough, you're women, we're not interested in female football. And for sure, maybe before the pandemic, very few of us could have named any member of the women's football team at all. And now, not only their household names, they are fantastic role models for girls, but also for boys.
Yeah,
for
we
boys
saw them
to see that actually England can win tournaments.
And you know, people forget that until 1971, the FA banned women's football. Did you know that?
71?
1917. I'm talking about 1971, not 1871. It's extraordinary that we live in a country where they thought it was OK to say, tut, tut, you can't come onto a football pitch. But also, I'm amazed how amazing they look. Look at her. There's no sweat on her. They're just extraordinary.
When they were doing the press conferences afterwards, they really did look. I mean, obviously, this is their job. They get very, they are very fit. And that's another reason why they're such incredible role models. These are really wholesome girls of all sorts of faith and races. They are the perfect epitome of British society here, English society. But the idea that they could come in for such negativity when they have created such an achievement. I mean, obviously they have an incredible coach. Sarina Wiegman, this is now her third back-to-back Euros win. So she is obviously also a really key component in that. But the psychology of this team, I was listening to the match as I was driving here, and it seemed like it was fairly evenly matched until we got our equaliser. And then suddenly, as a team, we just transformed. It was as if that self-belief that Sarina Wiegman has instilled in them was really coming out.
Yeah, and
but
the
there's
fight
also,
back started.
for young girls, all this stupidity about influencers and rubbish, influences in their lives, and
diets and what you look like.
And
that
this,
actually it's about your
it's really energizing these girls. And I have a granddaughter, and she's absolutely into football and into cricket, actually. And it's, it might be the way out of this misery that the modern world has created for everybody. I think it's, honestly, I'm so excited for them. I'm not even a football fan.
You should have heard us screaming, off there before we came on. And I wore my lucky Euros outfit.
Oh,
and so I put the wind down to that.
I think that probably, you clinched it.
This
Absolutely.
worked.
Yes.
But it is so beautiful to see, as you say, that the goalie being focused in on the front page. And Hannah Hampton, I mean, almost a warrior. When she played in the match and she got a bump on the nose and she was playing with a bloodied nose and a tissue stuffed up her nose, and she continued.
Not a tissue, actually. I think it might have been another product that women use.
Right. I did not know that.
But
Extra information.
I think there is a sense in which you can really get behind this team because there are fewer histrionics, fewer dramas on the pitch, less kind of faking it, that actually it's real talent, raw talent on the pitch. I think we've seen it throughout the tournament. It's not just the England team. I think many of these teams have actually been credit to their nations. And that is, again, that's very inspiring. And maybe the England men's team could actually look at this and think, well, I can now see this. I can see that if you can do it, we can do it. It's always been the inverse of that, which is that somehow women have always got to try and sort of look at male role models and think, am I going to be able to see something myself?
That's
and how can you be it if you can't see it?
But do they get this kind of appalling amounts of money being poured into?
The problem is, the FA is quite interesting. If you represent your country, you get the same match fee. You get £2,000, whether you're male or female. The difference is at club level and also in terms of things like bonuses and sponsorship. And also in terms of the tournament. Depends what tournament you're playing in.
Yeah,
so England are trying to introduce that kind of parity, but there's a long way to go.
But I hope they don't, because actually the ridiculous amounts of money that some male footballers earn and the whole game becoming so monetised has been very bad for male football, I think. It's become all about that. Rather than what's happening now with these women, it's all about the football.
But I think there does need to be some kind of recognition. That
let's cut the money for the men then.
Well, maybe that's what we should do. Give a little bit over.
Share the pot.
Share the pot.
But, I mean, the amazing thing, again, about the team is that they have had to deal with adversity. We heard from Jess Carter after the match, speaking to our correspondent Rob Harris, saying that there were points where she thought she would never be able to go on the pitch again. Such was the level of abuse that she received. And we know that it did interfere with her game, but they came back.
But and it's something that's so important. And now I know this is very controversial and people saying they're not taking the knee anymore. But there was a very interesting column by Joseph Harker from The Guardian saying, it's all, the ugliness has come back in such a big way into football. There was a time when they really did get rid of it all, and it's all come back, as in society. And this is not the time to take a back step. I mean, the interesting comments from some of the players was, because Jess Carter was very upfront about the racism and abuse that she had received, but she also highlighted the fact that they had pretty much received it as a team. And one of the players actually said, thank you for doing that, because it kind of made us really dig deep and really prove to you, to show our naysayers, to prove them that they were wrong. And I think that kind of messaging, that kind of resilience is, again, a really inspiring thing that could influence it shouldn't have to happen.
All over the world.
They don't get paid double for being abused, and all black footballers and other sportsmen, and not all sports are like this. And I just think, I was saying in a pub, we were sitting in a pub and I was talking to friends and we were talking about Michelle, and her extraordinary... And these guys at the next table, she's not one of us, is she? She's not one of us. So I said, am I one of you? Not really. OK? In your face.
That is just shameful.
In your face.
Astonishing.
In your face.
And that's why, in a way, the only way that you can overcome that is to constantly perform at an elite level, and yet that feels almost counterintuitive, because why should you have to prove yourself in order to counter that level of criticism and that level of abuse? But nevertheless, there is one sure way to silence your critics, which is to be the best in Europe.
Yes, to be the best, to be successful, and that's exactly what they've done. I think we've just got time to do one story away from football, the Financial Times, and this is the EU deal that Donald Trump says probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond. Yasmin.
I think this is not a deal. This is a Trump bullying the EU, and the EU, like so many other nations, just rolling over. How can you call this a deal?
Are they rolling over, though?
They are rolling over. They're absolutely rolling over.
15%?
This is 15%. But why are there any tariffs anyway? You know what I would do if I was king of the world? I would shut down all the McDonald's in this country and in Europe. We should hit back. Sorry, that's why I'm not king of the world.
I think perhaps yes. Lucy, is it a good deal or not?
Well, it's a great deal for Donald Trump, and that's all Donald Trump really cares about. And there is a certain strategic ambiguity that he always deploys, which is in evidence here again, which is that, yes, the tariffs do appear to have been reduced from that hypothetical 30, which was meant to kick in a few days' time, down to 15. But nobody knows whether he'll stick to that.
Exactly.
Nobody knows whether
Nobody
he'll ever keep
knows.
to it. But the interesting thing is that sometimes he just does say things that nobody else dares say, and he calls out Europe for having this massive trade deficit, and even Ursula von der Leyen has been forced to acknowledge, it had actually got out of hand, it needs to be rebalanced. Now, of course she's going to say that because she's sitting in a room with Donald Trump, but you can't have a situation where certain workers are being denied access to certain goods and certain tariffs are making it harder for people in certain countries to buy certain goods, and actually it did need to be done.
I would disagree with you about Donald Trump, that at least he speaks nonsense, and he speaks dangerous nonsense.
Yasmin. We're going to leave it there. And Lucy, thank you very much for the moment. We're going to take a break. Coming up, we'll be discussing this in the Mail, as the paper's headline says. Now, shut the migrant protest hotel. We'll be right back with that story in the newspapers when we come back.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
All alcohol products, not just wine, will have labels warning of liver disease and the link to fatal cancers.
Is it crazy?
It's an industry worth around €14 billion a year. That's why Italy sees this Irish plan as such a threat.
It's always instructive and occasionally entertaining to hear what Donald Trump has to say on the issue of Brexit.
She's got her own way of doing it, that's okay.
The job takes me to every corner of this island.
The rioting stemmed from a horrific daytime stabbing attack at a primary school in the city centre.
The scale of the rioting and the destruction it caused is pretty much unprecedented here in Dublin.
Jerry, any comment on the judge's decisions? Do you feel vindicated, Jerry? This is the end, the somewhat chaotic end, of a 52-day trial.
Micheál Martin could be set to head back to government with the Taoiseach Simon Harris.
Are you confident that you can now return as Taoiseach?
I'm cautiously optimistic and excited.
A mystery press conference hastily called. Leo Varadkar strode out and didn't disappoint.
I am resigning as President and Leader of Fine Gael effective today.
The people here sometimes feel they're somewhat neglected by the Irish government, to the extent that this place is sometimes known as the Forgotten County.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks, but none have ever been found.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach.
This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
Sky News, get the full story first.
There's always more to the news than a headline. We want to discover, to delve a little deeper, to find out what's really going on. Explanation, analysis, the people at the heart of every story. I'm Neil Patterson, And this is the Sky News Daily Podcast. So, by the end, we'll hopefully all understand what's going on in the world just that little better. Available wherever you get your podcasts.
Turkey is burying its dead.
Whole families died in this collapse. Generations wiped out. I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
This is just a small sample of the deadly arsenal taken off the streets.
Anyone could say, I'll do that, and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes.
Sky News. Get the full story first.
I'm Stephen Murphy, and I'm Sky's Ireland correspondent based here in Dublin.
The waters of Ireland and Britain should be home to great white sharks.
If there are great white sharks in this area, there's no reason they wouldn't come here to feed. It's basically a buffet on a beach.
This could be not only a record-breaking storm, but potentially the most dangerous storm ever to hit Ireland.
Welcome back. You are watching the press preview. Still with me, columnist Yasmin Alibhai-Brown and broadcaster Lucy Beresford. Let's take a look at the Mail front page. First of all, their headline, now shut migrant protest hotel. And this is the Bell Hotel in Epping in Essex, where we've seen the protests, quite violent protests in some instances, with those who want the asylum hotel closed permanently. Lucy.
Yeah, it's a tricky one, this, because closing the hotel itself or closing it to migrants isn't necessarily going to actually solve the problem. It's just going to move the problem to another place. We already have heard that there have been protests in Norfolk and possibly in West Sussex. And we know last summer that there were protests in Westminster. What needs to be addressed is how is it that a government could be so tin-eared to the complaints and the concerns of its voters, of its electorate, who feel incredibly threatened when their communities seem to have to house some of these people in some of these hotels. Now, this has been triggered because of one particular issue with an Ethiopian man who was charged with sexually assaulting a schoolgirl just a matter of days after arriving in Britain. Now, that isn't meant to say that all migrants behave like that. That would hopefully be, if not a one-off, then certainly, a very reduced number of people. But the problem is that it becomes symbolic of so many people who feel very threatened. They feel that their communities are being, they're having things imposed on those communities, and above all, that they're not being listened to. So whether the Bell in Epping is closed or not doesn't actually focus the minds of the Labour politicians, which is how are you going to address this problem, which is that there are an increasing number of people who feel that there are just too many illegal migrants who are coming in.
Yasmin, what's the answer? Because asylum seekers are going to have to be
I'm not going to take
anyway.
this as the basis of my answer, because it's so wrong. OK, there's twice as many people turned up in Epping today to protect these migrants. We had this in Southport as well. This idea that the whole of Britain, especially in these areas, like Epping. My sister, who was very, very severely mentally ill, spent the last 10 years of her life in a home in Epping, and they couldn't have been nicer to her. And the people who were working in that care home, many of them were migrants. So the idea that, the whole of Britain is up in arms about this is really unfair. And to extrapolate from one crime, you said it was not right.
It's not about migration.
No, it's not. You said this Ethiopian committed a terrible crime, and he did. And then to extrapolate from there...
But it's also about illegal migration. It's about
the fact that there are people those illegal migrants are not criminals. They're not all criminals.
They feel very worried about that. But there isn't a nuanced debate about it.
There isn't it, because we can't have a nuanced debate, because this is what 90% of our press says. Where are the stories about what these people are?
I don't think closing this hotel is actually going to address the issue.
But it's also very wrong. I've been to two places in the last 3 weeks, Stoke-on-Trent and Chesterfield, where two kind of red wallish places, where I gave a prize, because they asked me to this amazing group, which was a Derbyshire group welcoming refugees. Stoke-on-Trent, the same. And the audience I was speaking to was entirely white. And what they were saying is we must be kinder. So there are two different camps in this country, and we can't just allow one, the angry one, to lead the way and assume that all governments have to satisfy them. We do need a solution. We do need to find a way. But you don't sort of demonise a whole group of people.
But quickly, in this instance, though, Yasmin, is the solution, or maybe the temporary solution, to close the hotel?
And where would they go? Wherever they go, because they're being encouraged by these papers. Where would they go? Everywhere they go, and remember, we know now the far right is involved in this.
Who is being encouraged by the papers?
The anger against asylum seekers is being encouraged by the papers. But listen, last year's riots...
But that gives the
hang on, Lucy, I want to share this. Please, I want to share this. 2 out of the 5 people men demonstrating in last year's riots, look it up, it's research that was published in one of the papers yesterday, Friday, were also convicted of domestic violence. We've got Tony Robinson using social media, a new organisation I hadn't even heard of, Homeland, which is orchestrating these things. We should also be concerned about stopping them.
Yasmin and Lucy, we must leave it there only because of time. Thank you very much for the debate. Let's take a look at the weather for you now.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. The weather, sponsored by Qatar Airways.
Well, the next few days look changeable with widespread showers and more general rain in places, but there'll be drier, sunnier spells too. There'll be a mostly mild, mainly dry start tomorrow, but there'll be a few showers in the far north and near western coasts. The morning looks mainly dry with sunny spells once those early showers fade, but cloud will bubble up with further fairly isolated showers developing. Central and southern parts look most at risk. It'll be a bit warmer than today, with near average temperatures for most.
Breathtaking views with clear skies ahead. Qatar Airways sponsors the weather.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos and analysis.
Evidence of the crisis.
Podcasts, watching us live.
Live here from Washington.
Wherever you get your podcast.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.